It's disappoint my expectation. Could you just pretend to be someone else, right?
Bro, he's not going to.
'Cause we already do this when we fuck, so.
Just put on a
Lowered
different character
expectations.
specifically
Oh
to
my
fuck
god.
with you.
I will
shit,
say,
dude.
I absolutely fucking hated the mission I just finished, which is the Owlswell mission for Oblivion. That motherfucker gave me a fucking scroll that, once applied, fucking decreased my luck down to 0. Motherfucker!
Your luck is at 0. She won't let you hit.
Whoa. Not even the Argonian busty maids will.
The busty Argonian maid.
Isn't that like a real book in this? Or
it's the
like
lusty
in...
Argonian maid, not the busty
Ah.
Argonian maid. But it would be funny if it was the busty. That would be if that's gonna be the porn version. If there ever is an Elder Scrolls in contemporary times, it would be the busty Argonian maid.
I mean, yeah, let's be real. Holy shit.
Are you gonna stream it or no?
I can't. It keeps crashing.
It happens to the best of us. Yeah, welcome to Fast Food Thursday. I definitely didn't forget to post this earlier edition. That's not what happened at all. This is a very normal Fast Food Thursday, but extremely regular thing that I was trying to goad Seetor into saying something, and he did. So I win, basically, is what I'm trying to say. How have you all been? How's the week been?
Mine's been up and down, but
Oh, dude, I felt like shit for the first 2 or 3 days of this week, just from
bouldering.
Yeah, just when you push yourself really too far physically, and your muscles ache.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like that for the first half of this week. It's been fantastic.
I mean to say, I wouldn't know what that feels like because my muscles are extremely athletic.
Yeah, we went bouldering on Sunday, and then we went back to my friend's place to have fondue. And honestly, great day, but holy shit, my fucking fingers have barely recovered.
I love bouldering. We used to, at Boys Home, we actually had a bouldering space. And we used to have bouldering cups with several other boys' homes. But it's very difficult for me to do because my hands are naturally very dry. So I go on. I never need chalk on one of those routes, but once I've bolded 5 routes, I will just start bleeding. That's my fingers will literally just start bleeding, and that's not ideal, really.
It adds more grip. It makes it harder for the next people.
Oh my fucking god. Mind if I derail this convo really quick? Because I just got an email from something. Okay, so back in the mid 2000s, I used to listen to this podcast called the Skeptoid Podcast, which it just did quick 15-minute episodes debunking all kinds of things, pseudoscience, cults, conspiracy theories, yada yada yada. And the dude had a newsletter that I signed up for that I would get emails from his newsletter. Well, in 2012, he got sent to prison for a bunch of white collar crimes, like running a Ponzi scheme, scamming people out of. He basically just had he basically just did a bunch of white collar crimes and went to prison, completely discredited himself and everything, and he eventually got out in 2008 or something, went completely silent. And I just got an email from his newsletter. He's just starting it back up like nothing ever happened.
Oh no!
Honestly, I can respect the hustle.
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? As a felon, you're basically unemployable. Why not return to your hit skeptic podcast?
Yeah. This was a podcast I listened to in like my fucking Reddit atheist phase.
I really think we need more of that in our disinformation era, because what we have of that is the worst aspects of it. People accusing people of doing an ad hominem just because I say that you're wrong about this. Right, or because I called you a fucking idiot for believing something wrong. That's an ad hominem. Like, not understanding logical fallacies, not understanding how to think in a way that isn't stupid. But they just use the words to describe those things. And they're not describing them.
We do need to make a return, but
Yeah.
in a more mature states, like more mature.
I feel like the way that it needs to be done is that you need to get. This is my personal opinion on this, but I feel it's very important to give people the mental tools to think about something without giving those tools a name, which is entirely because that's how my brain works. But I think the moment you give those mental tools a name that other people recognize, you shorthand it too often. And so you start using it wrong because it's easier. And it's
once you put a name to it, you can weaponize it and just use it incorrectly, but you think you sound smart because you use the word.
Yeah, because at that point it's just about winning the argument, and you win the argument by sounding smart. And if you say false dichotomy and you need that gets your opponent to like Google what false dichotomy is, the Discord chat will have already moved on from the topic of conversation. So when that person comes out back to say like, well, actually, fucking, it is entirely comparable to have two different dog breeds and compare what kind of temperature ranges they're in, then he'll look like a moron because he didn't know what full dichotomy meant. None of the people in the Discord chat did either.
I do want to say.
Well, actually, that was one good thing he did, was he still used descriptors for the different logical fallacies, but he did. I'm talking about the skeptoid. He did do a series where he's just like, okay, here's an episode on what the no true Scotsman fallacy is, what an ad hominem is, and he provided examples. It was pretty good, but. Yeah, he taught it via descriptors, which is, the way you had to do things back then. But then, also he turned into a massive fucking felon, so that kind of discredited him, unfortunately. Even though he had good ideas.
Well, that's an ad hominem right there.
The way that you're talking about fallacies is the same way that people in fantasy books talk about like demons, where if you know its true name, you can cast it away.
That sounds about right.
That does sound about right.
No True Scotsman is probably just because of the name, it's my favorite fallacy. There was a time at like university where somebody was basically doing a no true Scotsman fallacy and just started speaking with a Scottish accent. And this is like in German, so I would speak English with a Scottish accent. And people just didn't understand that I was doing an accent, that was like a reference to the no true Scotsman fallacy. It's an incredibly awkward interaction because nobody knew what the fuck I was trying to accomplish. And I refused to elaborate because I hate explaining my jokes.
Whenever I picture the no true Scotsman, I picture the Samurai Jack's friend from the show, the Scotsman. I just imagine there's like 20 of them, and he's like, "No, I'm the true Scots," and they just start fighting.
Sounds about right.
It's like I don't know. I'm dumb that way.
For me, it's always Paul from the Drunken Peasants podcast with the music in the background. It's a very particular song, which I don't think even is supposed to be a Scottish one. Hang on, let me find. I know I have the song saved somewhere, but that very particular song. Every time I hear "No True Scotsman," obviously we can't play it on YouTube because I get copyright claim. But I'm going to find it anyway because how are you going to stop me?
Zoom. I just saw
shit,
your.
I just broke 47,000 subscribers.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I didn't even notice that was gonna happen. Yeah, hell yeah, this is fucking cool as shit. I love this. No, I do no YouTube. You do not get to use my microphone. You fucking cunt.
Why don't you trust YouTube?
The other day, it opened my Google. I was just working out. I was like lifting weights, and then Google was like, "Oh, would you like to say something? You need to activate us before you can." Like, we noticed that you were trying to talk to us, but we can't. You can't do that unless you give us permission. It's just no. I was just grunting, dude.
Jeez.
You were just grunting, I see.
Where do the bagpipes be? Yes, there. it's no, just the video. Thank you. It doesn't need to be the whole playlist.
Poor doggy.
Oh yeah, I started listening to the Joshua Graham reads the Bible series on YouTube. Somebody's like using AI to have Joshua Graham from New Vegas just read the Bible.
No, hang on. Wasn't that the thing where he didn't use AI? But it took him so long to make that AI came out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm
not sure.
That has to be the worst feeling in the entire world. To, like, spend hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, on, like, doing something that's just this extremely sophisticated collage. And then somebody just makes a software that does it immediately.
Oh, geez, there's a little bit of drama. Well, it's not really drama. I mean, it is drama, but I totally understand where the people are where the YouTubers are coming from, because there's a new Warhammer 40K lore channel, which is just an AI reading Warhammer lore with the voice of David Attenborough.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of those. They're very
they're
cringe.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a one-time gimmick, but it's just like people are not happy about that.
It's gonna happen. I listen to like one of those green text channels, and they use AI voices. I find it really difficult to pay attention to them long term.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they're fine. Like, you can understand what they say. It's not like text to speech used to be, and like Reddit text to speech fucking websites have been a thing for 10 years or more. So I don't know why people are now
so
getting their
fucking
panties in a
cringe
twist about that in particular. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, that's basically my thing as well. It's just don't like it, don't watch it.
True. God, I must say, since I'm playing Oblivion, the one thing I dislike is the 3D, the third-person camera. It's not great. It's really not great.
I mean, it's a 17-year-old game.
I know, but still at the same time, it's just like, bro, so painful. Also, the character models did not age well at all. I'm like, the game is great. The character models are not.
I really want to check out Starfield. It looks like a lot of fun.
Oh man, having just recently started checking out Bethesda games a lot more, I'm honestly like, what? Goddamn rats! Why the fuck?
Excuse
yeah,
me,
no, I'm-
Posh, please no anti-Semitism on the podcast, thank you.
Moon does kind of rats, you idiot. I mean, like the giant ass fucking rats you get in fucking Oblivion.
No, please stop talking.
Bro, why are you making it out worse than what it already is?
Well, cool it with the anti-Semitism right there, okay?
I mean, do goblins count as anti-Semitism?
No, they're goblins.
They're gobos.
The fuck are you talking
Hey, you
about? What are you implying, that goblins are Jewish?
I have found the goblin encampment.
The internet's fucked my mind so much that now when I picture goblins, I picture like the fucking anime female short stack goblins.
I don't. The internet has not fucked me up to this extent, and I'm very happy about it.
Well, there's also a VTuber I watch who uses avatar
Goblin.
of
Yeah.
a female goblin too.
Hell
Yep.
yeah.
She's kind of cool. She does art, doesn't she?
Yeah. I think we're talking about the same person. She does art streams that are really awesome.
Wait, why the fuck am I getting arrested?
I can hear you playing Oblivion.
I know, we can hear you getting arrested.
Why am I getting arrested? What the fuck did I do? I genuinely don't know what I did.
Do you remember this GTA clip where it's like he's playing the I think it was GTA 3. It might have been GTA 5, and he was playing fucking what's the car guy, the black guy, the guy who's good at driving.
Black guy who's good.
Yeah, he has two. His name is an amalgam of two presidents' names.
I have no. Thomas Trump.
No,
Thomas Trump.
What the fuck? I used to love playing him because you could drive around with him like a fucking
in like
boss.
slow motion.
GTA 5 characters. Yeah.
Franklin.
Franklin Clinton. Yes, that was.
Yes, Franklin. Yeah.
I was thinking Clinton, but it didn't feel right. But it
it
was
doesn't.
apparently true.
I genuinely need to know.
He was getting like punched by pedestrians.
Oof.
And he didn't do shit. He didn't like defend himself. And this was also a black streamer, right? He didn't defend himself at all. And then he was just waiting for a cop to like walk by for this to enter like his frame of vision. And like the second that it did, the cop like fucking started opening fire on the character.
I know exactly the video you're talking about, and I just remember like the guy streaming it. He's just completely silent in the whole thing, and when the cop starts attacking him, he just turns his face to the camera and just glares at you.
He was so.
That was so. Oh, geez, that reminds me of a game theory video that came out a long time ago, where they wanted to tested how racist the cops in GTA 5 are, and it depends on where you are. If you're up in the rural part of Los Santos, they are way more racist to Franklin than the other cops from the two other regions.
You are hot micing pretty frequently.
God damn it. I'm trying to mess with the audio to see what I can get away with, but goddamn.
Yeah, that's a really nice level of attention to detail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where the urban cops, the city cops, they're pretty racist, just because, they're modeled after the LAPD. But then, the rural cops are just, like, completely fucking unhinged.
Posh, you're still hot micing the exact same amount.
Fuck's sake! Am I hot micing continuously?
No, it pops in and out.
I think it only does it with me.
No, I've heard myself talk too. Right now, for instance, I'm hearing myself talk.
Oh,
Am I still hot micing now?
Well, we'll find out. Apparently not at this point in time. We'll see.
No, because I was literally talking to someone and you didn't react to it, so Yes, where the fuck am I? I'm at Shadenhall? Is that how you pronounce it?
What? Chadenol.
Shadenhall.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love Chadenol. It has a very autumny vibe.
Oh my
it has
god!
some very beautiful buildings.
Oh my fucking god!
Yeah,
Good lord,
it
that
is.
character looks horrible. And that's
They
supposed to be a
all
woman.
Look terrible, dude. They all look terrible. It's Oblivion.
Welcome to Oblivion, yeah.
This is a game from fucking 2006.
Wait till you hit the queue.
Like, from the screenshots I saw from Morrowind, I'm like, I vibe more with the character models from that than Oblivion.
It's a matter of taste.
I mean, the only ones that look decentish are the non-humans, basically, and non-elves.
Well, okay, but see, this is a perception problem. This is like with AI generated imagery. When we have it generate faces and humans, we notice the things that are wrong about them much more heavily than when we have him generate dogs or anything else, or like a house. It seems normal to us, or it seems normal to us for way longer than with humans, because with humans, when there's a ever so slight misalignment with the eyes, we immediately notice. You can tell if a human being is looking you in the eyes from like an incredible distance away.
For sure.
Yeah.
The question is, that implies that the fact that you have such like an uncomfortable reaction to seeing something that doesn't quite look like a human implies that we've evolved to have that as like an alarm.
I wrote a whole short story about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, David's.
Yeah, and that whole
David's
the YouTube video for that is there's a lot of people commenting on it who think that it's like real. It's really funny.
Yeah, because it was the guy who developed Dusk and Iron Lung. He made that tweet about the uncanny valley and what existed that frightened us so much.
I don't know that's I didn't. I mean, this story was like came out 5 years ago. I don't know when he tweeted that. But yeah, if you go to the
it's a pretty common thing to say, I suppose.
Oh,
if you screw, this is one of it's had like 16,000 views, and there's like a lot of people in here who are like engaging with it in like a lot of like what appears to be good faith. Like, I assume some of them are just buying into the premise of this story. Or speculate, but there's like sometimes because every time somebody comments on this video, I get an email, and like sometimes there's like an email that I get on my like business email where it's like someone being, well, I googled the name of this scientist and he didn't come out, so they disappeared him. This is a short story.
I love watching the SCP videos that the Volgun puts out, because once in a while you get somebody in the comments going, "Wait, when did this happen?" And it's like, it's an SCP video. It's not real.
There are many theories though as to what the reason for this could be. It could be based on like other hominids that look very similar to humans, though given the frequent intermingling that did happen, it's questionable as to whether this would have been enough of an evolutionary sort of advantage to be able to recognize them. It seems like a very tribal, like a very modernist, Darwinian.
I personally believe it's both dead bodies and
corpses,
just illness. Yeah, and also like rabies and like mental illness and stuff like that. Like, if somebody's schizophrenic, like in an ancient pre-civilization society, somebody schizophrenic, it's like, yeah, they're gonna look human, but they don't behave like
That's gonna be
what
the
that
shaman.
group. Yeah, it's gonna be like the shaman. And that's
but
why
rabies and corpses is the two big ones.
Yeah.
It could. This is one very wild theory is that it's basically something that helped very very early hominids in some way of distinguishing similar species. You know how like bees, like wasps, look like bees and shit. To like make those kinds of distinctions, but it was like somehow emergently carried over into like a more advanced state. So it was a much more primitive version of the human brain that developed this impulse, but now it's applied to much more complex things, so that we would not like. It used to be we would mistake like tree like fucking what's the vines for snakes or snakes for vines. And then the snakes would bite us, and it's that same impulse. But that's like a very speculative. It's very controversial. I don't even think it necessarily has too much evidence for it.
I remember Vinesauce too made a video about dragons, and he basically postulated that dragons arose from the primordial fear of snakes.
That's possible.
Which I thought was
Crocodiles
really interesting. Crocodiles too, as well.
But then, like dragons have. I mean, it's difficult to obviously when these things arise, and then we have things they change significantly over time. But there is a certain dragons don't really embody the same archetypal ideas we like put into snakes.
Yeah, but I mean, you could if you think about it, you can kind of see a link. Like, dragons breathe fire from their mouths. Snakes, when they bite you, you get sick and die.
Yeah, there's like a lot of mimetic evolution that has happened since then. Mutations.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And who knows what's carried over? Because in terms of like behavioral history and I guess psychohistory, you don't know what's been carried over from other human species and from common ancestors.
Here's my question. There's several interpretations of dragons in other cultures that are significantly more like Ophidian, if you will. Like in like Asiatic cultures, many have like imagery of snakes that they're like literally just snakes. And they're usually benevolent. Or like the winged snakes of of the Central American mythology, and some other. I think there's also winged snakes with the certain Australian Aboriginal people. I might be getting this confused somehow, but those are often actually quite benevolent beings.
Maybe instead of a form of fear, it developed into a form of respect. Like, this creature is so powerful that it can kill us with one bite. Instead of, giving it respect, giving it room, and then eventually that evolved into like, we respect this thing. It's a wise creature, because I'm sure like they probably also saw snakes like killing vermin and stuff that was dead, like rats and rodents and frogs and stuff like that were a problem for humans, so they probably viewed them as with some kind of respect.
Frogs fucking rule, though. Don't fuck with frogs. I love frogs.
Frogs are decent.
You guys clearly haven't watched Ancient Aliens.
Haven't watched what?
Well, ancient frogs, more like.
Hell yeah, brother. Get them frogs. Hell yeah.
Did it.
I love watching those videos of just like dudes with just like practical common sense being like, oh yeah, this is how you move a 2.5 ton block of sandstone. All you have to do is just use the block and tackle, some water, some logs, and boom, look at that. I'm pushing this big rock all by myself.
You're back to hot miking, Posh. I don't know.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I don't know how that happened. I would love to eat some elf jerky, dude.
Elf jerky?
Yeah.
Why?
Fucking hate elves.
No, I just want to know what they taste like, you know. I'd eat elf
But there's
pussy
like
too,
some.
so.
There's some creatures, like there's a lot of creatures I understand, like the mythological, like I can understand the real world origin, like with stuff like the Wendigo and stuff, and but like there's some creatures, like there's that one Japanese yokai which literally looks like a dude bent over with a huge eye poking out of its asshole. And I'm just like, what is that about?
How can
What
you
does
come
he
up with that
do?
shit? I think he
It's
spies
like-
on people. Is all.
I think, yeah, he's spy. It's some. Well, he's like a trickster because he'll like walk around like a normal person at night, and then if you get close to him, he just like bends over and it's just a huge eye in his butthole.
He's just a
Right.
And it
massive
scares
whore.
people.
It's just this fear of exhibitionism, dude.
Probably, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
don't know.
you can break these things down to primal fears, but of course, there's a lot of like mutation that happens in the meantime. And I assume, like, I make stupid shit up all the time that I tell people.
Of
Oh
course
yeah,
you do.
yeah.
I can only assume that past incarnations of me have done the same.
Oh yeah, you look at European mythology, even into the Middle Ages, it's like, yeah, they thought like there was a race of people from Africa that just had one foot.
Hell yeah. I love the fucking like the Greek travel accounts. They're like, yeah, and then they have no head. These guys, I was in Africa and they had no head. The face was in their chest. And then I went to this other island and then they had 2 heads actually and 3 eyes on each head. And people were reading this like, yep, this makes sense. That really makes sense. Until the one guy who did a parody of it.
I remember listening to there's a conspiracy, like it's a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, cults, serial killers, stuff like that. They did an episode on giants, and they talked about how like a lot of accounts from the Spanish first visiting the New World, how they supposedly encountered so many giants.
Oh, in Patagonia, you mean?
Yeah, like in Patagonia. And there's been recent study on it, and it's just the fact that Europeans at the time were just so malnourished and sickly. And so when they actually went to like South America and saw these people who lived in very good lands, who had very healthy diets, and like got a lot of exercise and stuff, that the fact that the Europeans were like 5 feet tall, and that these Patagonians were like maybe 6 feet tall, they were like, oh, those are giants. And simply,
I'm not sure. I don't recall it being that reasoning, but I do recall it being historically that they like some specific tribes, especially were like way fucking taller than, because medieval Europeans were short, like that. They were fucking
they were
short.
very small. Yeah, they were very tiny.
Yeah.
It's like yeah. If I showed up back then, they'd call me whatever they call. You know that one that one fucking demon from like World of Warcraft, that immensely fat guy that was often like
they'd call
roleplayed as
you
a
like
chef.
Moloch or some shit.
Yeah.
There's people from like 100 years ago where if you showed them just a regular average American, they'd be like, "What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What is happening?" Although there were some benefits to the medieval European diet and like generally to like historical diets, because there's one of those things like people assume that people had bad teeth back then. It's just not true. Teeth didn't rot as much because we didn't eat a fraction of the sugar that we eat today. so they used to not get as much caries, and because they did have a more balanced diet, especially if they were like more privileged. So the teeth wouldn't grow crooked in the first place.
Right.
Do you see this
Yeah, and
with many cultures around the world that to this day don't really eat that many processed foods? Their teeth grow really like non-crookedly.
yeah,
yeah.
actually, a very both a very good example, but also a very tragic example are like the Polynesians. Like,
Yeah.
there's accounts of Polynesians like when they first met Westerners. You know, they were very large people, but they were also, but it was like they were
Okay.
they were they weren't fat. They were like Bills.
Yeah.
You know, they were just bulky people. You know, lots of muscle and lots of fat. But then it's like once they got exposed to Western food and a more sedentary life, they unfortunately just fell off. And so it's like now Polynesians, they have a high. I hate saying that, but
Lamau.
I love this sort of like micro evolution thing. Because it's the same with like skin color, right? If the closer you are to the equator, the more dangerous exposure to solar radiation can be. So if you have high melanin content in your skin, that'll protect you from like skin cancer. You won't die. The same happens inversely when you far close to the equator. When you far away from the equator, there's a pressure that goes in the other direction. Where if you have too much melanin, it doesn't really serve you to protect you from the sun's rays as much, and also it'll prevent you from absorbing as much vitamin D from the sun, which will also give you a bunch of health problems that'll kill you. That's why the sort of gradient of peoples historically from like the equator to the poles is so harsh, and you have this like repeated in several areas around the world.
yes. We also have to remember there's people like the Inuit who live nearly exclusively in like snow-covered lands where the reverse happens again because the snow and the sun, especially during the summer months, reflects so much light that the darkening happens again.
Yeah.
So there's like it's like you go from the equator where people are darker skinned, and then you get up into like Scandinavia, Scotland, Canada, Russia, where people become very light skinned, but then you go even further north, and then just the exposure to massive amounts of sunlight during, for half of the year, causes people to get dark skin again.
And that's a very sharp cut too, because there is a certain degree of gradient, but like the proper ice line is surprisingly sudden. Like geographically speaking, so you will have the Sami people who live like just below that, who are the whitest motherfuckers you can imagine, and
then
like,
you
just
go
above,
and then,
not above them specifically in the direction of the north, obviously, but like in that like from the latitude, I think it is. This is the latitude, from the latitudes a little farther north. You have fucking people living in the Arctic Circle are not like nearly as they're more like Mediterranean.
Well, like that.
Tan.
They're not. Yeah, it's a Mediterranean level of tan, but like Scandinavia, relative to like northern Canada, is very mild. Winter-wise. So it's like that's how you can have people on the same latitude, like in where the Sami live, be so fucking white.
Yeah.
But then you go over to Nunavut, and they're tan.
It's
because there's.
It's really honestly the fact that so many generations just lived completely in the ice. This is with any like historical group. Right?
Yeah.
That lived in extremely harsh environments for generations upon generations. That really fascinates me because it's such a completely alien lifestyle, and they didn't like.
I mean, you also got the
There
Sami.
is a level of isolation that you achieve at that point, where many people may not even have ever known that there was something that wasn't the eternal ice of the world, right? Or like the desert of whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's even more amazing because with the Inuit and other people who live that far north, it's really amazing how they adapted to it, because it's like, you go further south, you have access to timber and mining and abundant plant life, where they like nearly all of their tools were made from animals.
Yeah, they lived for thousands of years on a completely meat-based diet.
Yeah.
They didn't
Well,
eat
they
any
said there's some. They did
Yeah,
acquire
some of the tribes that go further into the south that are like in the tundra.
Well, there's
eat
like
berries.
moss and lichen they could eat, and berries as
But
well.
like ones that live very far north, like I think the Netsilik, they would just have seal livers that they would eat because they contained a lot of vitamins that you'd usually only get from plants.
Oh yeah. It was very. It just really shows the amazing adaptability and ingenuity of humans.
It's honestly incredible, and also and also that they were like, let's just stay here, dude. There's a Ricky Gervais bit about this where like the Native Americans came over the land bridge, and like immediately one of them stopped. It was like, this is all right, isn't it? Just the fucking coldest part of Alaska. It's like, just stay here.
They were just like, there's a massive ice wall. There's like a massive ice wall.
Yeah.
And there's like,
this seems like a great place to stay forever.
Oh, hell yeah, bro. That ice, that cold. Oh, it feels like home.
Though you would exactly. You would assume that they were like, it is known that these were like peoples from living in Siberia, which is Siberia. So, the jump isn't that enormous.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, and they're like, we got these big fuck off animals with huge serpent noses that once you start chasing them, they eventually just die. They'll just fall over and die if you chase them long enough.
I love mammoths, dude. They fucking rule.
What rules?
Mammoths. I love mammoths. I hope they get to resurrect. I hope I live to see the resurrection of the mammoth. I would love to see. That's like one of the things that I want to do. I want to go to the moon and I want to see a live mammoth.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I thought that was like next thing after that one. There's a Korean laboratory that made that were able to engineer glow in the dark kittens and puppies. And I was like, okay, where's the mammoth? It's like, that's cool, glow-in-the-dark cats and dogs. That's awesome. Where's the mammoth?
I mean, in fairness, genes that make glow are probably the ones that we have the most experience with, because literally all of science is constantly trying to make things glow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the like...
Hey, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Mine's completely different to yours, but... On the topic of that, I find the people who live in the desert, like the sand deserts, way more fascinating than those that live in ice. Because, like, I mean, at a certain point, you can find... What's the word? You can find enough clothes for yourself in the cold, I find. But when it comes to the desert, it's like, it's so hot, and it is merciless. Like,
well, they also use clothes to cool them off.
Yeah, that's true.
Personally, quite frankly, prefer heat to cold. By a significant margin. I cold.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Cold
See, yeah.
creeps into the nooks and crannies. Cold assaults me, whereas heat just oppresses me.
Yeah, for
See, and
sure.
I'm the complete opposite. I prefer the cold. You know, and it's
All
because
my
I feel
friends are
like
like
cold.
this. Like, the moment we go over 16 degrees Celsius, they're like, oh no, I'm sweating so much.
I mean, I can handle the heat, but I prefer cold.
Yeah.
And also it's probably also because I'm a I don't know. I have an obsession with, and I've said it before. I have an obsession with like Lovecraft and Eldritch shits, and you find that the cold, like the theme with a lot of it, that shit is cold.
Yeah, but you can't fuck with that in like a Middle Eastern fashion, I feel like. You can do desert Lovecraft shit. I mean, the desert
Oh
has a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
like fucking is the English term for this also Fata Morgana?
I'm not
This
sure.
sounds Latin.
When you
Well,
see
actually,
shit in the desert, what's that called?
Oh,
Oh,
A
mirage.
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 Yes, that's the English word for it.
Yeah. Well, like the creator of the Necronomicon was Abdul El Hazraj from Mecca. Yeah, and there's also the sunken. There's not the sunken cities, but like the ancient cities far in the desert where everything's too low to the ground, and the reason for that is because it was ruled over by a race of like crocodile people. That
Oh yeah, a lot of Egyptian like it's the that's like the law for the law basically when it comes to Lovecraftian horror is Egypt and shit.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Well,
I am fascinated by the primordial nature of ancient civilizations. Just
there's a
the
video
yeah.
on YouTube. There's a video on YouTube you should probably check out. It's done by this dude who I don't know if he's an Islamic scholar, but he's a Muslim man with a great interest in Islam, and he did a video on the
Any such
connection
places?
on like Lovecraftian elements in Islam and in pre-Islamic religions. That's really fascinating. I think if you look up like Lovecraft Islam, you can find it.
Honestly, Sufism and Could Creatures. No, hang on. Is it this one? The Mysterious Middle East channel?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I can.
There's-
I don't.
There's-
I was subscribed to that channel for a while. I didn't like it. It's a really fucking weird. It's like a propaganda. It's very strange. Or do you? Oh, okay, it could be. Okay, it's either the one that looks. Okay, let me post both.
Okay, yeah, it was the mysterious Middle
Is
East
it
channel.
this one or is it? And this really looks like a ball of video.
Yeah, it's that one.
This
I do have one channel recommendation for you if you're into like ancient America, pre-colonization times, and a bit of post-colonization times as well. It's called. Hang on, let me check the channel. But if I recall correctly, it's Ancient America.
Yeah.
They do stuff like the lesser known peoples of America.
That rules. Is it rare earth?
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
What the fuck?
What? Did something just happen?
Yeah, your
Yeah.
microphone got fucked.
Yeah.
You're fine now.
Yeah, because for a second I saw here in my audio mix that I wasn't making any sound. What did you
Mm.
hear?
You sounded like you had swallowed the microphone for a brief second.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I did, to be fair.
So, like,
yeah.
Here's some of the stuff he's gone through. Like, of course, he goes through like the ancient people, like the Olmecs, the Mayans, but also like ancient peoples that are not as widely known. For example, the Marajoara cultures of the Amazon.
I mean,
or-
desert high cultures are jungle high cultures are wild.
Yeah.
because they emerge and they die and they're overgrown, and it's extremely difficult to find anything out about them because they live in such an
Oh,
active
yeah.
environment.
Well, it's like if you look at pictures of like Chichen Itza
Yeah.
before it was all cleared up, it looks like a hill. It looks like a hill in the forest. It's like
This-
how.
So this is why we know we don't know a lot about the Mayans, because a lot of their shit was in the desert, in the jungle, not the desert, and it just still is in there. Like it, and we will never. It's just a hill. Nobody will ever know that there's like Mayan shit underneath some particular hill. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I remember there was like a big deal. Like there was like a bunch of articles came out like a year ago where they were surveyors were like using like radar over the Amazon to to do surveys, and they found like a city just they found like what looked like buildings and like a pyramid and like a street complex just in the middle of the Amazon, and they estimate it was probably made like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
they
Oh, for
only
sure. There's always something like that.
It's actually the
Yeah.
opposite of the desert, because in the desert, you will. So in the jungle, something is covered. It's covered basically forever, right? In the
Yeah.
desert, you have shit, because in the desert you don't get depositions of new layers of soil, because it's the desert, right? There's no plants doing anything. So what'll happen is that sometimes there's just this happens in like the Arab Peninsula all the time. There's a big sandstorm, and they just uncovered new shit that wasn't known before.
Oh yeah.
Like Khajiit bandits.
Well,
Like,
like
is he bad, man?
you even have that shit happen in like modern cities, like when the World Trade Center complex was being cleaned out, and they had to like pause so many times because they ended up finding like we found a ship from like the 1700s we didn't know was down here, so they had to like excavate it, and like they found so much stuff from like the very early, because what it also was all that land it was built on was just basically garbage that was dumped into the water to extend the land.
Oh, dude.
So they were
dude.
just
Try building anything in Rome.
Oh, it's
Oh,
impossible. The amount of
Yeah.
stuff you
They've been working. When did they start the subway of Rome?
that shit is so funny to me. It will never not be funny.
Oh yeah, isn't Rome where they had the McDonald's?
Oh, yeah,
they
with
were
the-
building a
yeah.
McDonald's. Yeah, so if you go into McDonald's, it has a glass floor so you can look down at the old Roman stuff
Yeah,
underneath
yeah.
it.
It's so ubiquitous there. I mean, obviously it's Rome, but they're so they treat it a lot of like it's such a natural part of the environment. It's not treated with the same degree of reverence that like tourists treat it. Because like it's lived in throughout history, right? A lot of the old Roman structures were used for very, very different purposes throughout history. And sometimes they were even just, this is just the Colosseum for a long time. They were just, who gives a shit what the fuck this is? We're going to take stones from it because we're going to build houses over there. The stones are right there. Right? So-
Yeah,
yeah.
That happened to like a lot of shit. Like for example, I've talked about this before, but there's a site in France that I visited recently, which has both a small city of like in between, what was it, 30,000 and 100,000 people. They believe at like its height, and it was near a holy site as well. And when that got abandoned, the knowledge of the place existing didn't disappear. So people knew it existed, but they were just like, hey, there's just piles of wood and rock over there. We can just go steal them.
Hell yeah.
Well, I've read and listened to things where they talked about how like just like a few hundred years after Rome collapsed, or not necessarily Rome collapsing, but Rome pulling back, like from Britain and like northern France and stuff, where the people there, they knew all that stuff existed, but they thought it was like it was built by people that were basically gods.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't even they forgot like how quickly they forgot their own history.
It wasn't necessarily how quickly they forgot. Oh shit! Fucking dugout.
Well, that's what's scary. That's something that scares me on like a existential level. It's just like because there's a sci-fi book I read a while ago called I think I told you guys about it. It's called A Canticle for Leibowitz, which is a funny title because Canticle, Catholic, Leibowitz, Jewish name, where the nuclear apocalypse happens, the nuclear war happens, and it takes place in southern Utah, where 1,000 years later, where a Catholic abbey is founded by the New Catholic Church, which is based in New Rome, which is what St. Louis used to be. St. Louis is called like New Rome in this time period, and how like a monk was exploring around the abbey, and he found a cave, and the cave was actually, like, looking at it from our point of view, it's like it was a military base, but he's just looking through this cave, and he's seeing all these manuscripts and carvings, on this paper, and all these writings and stuff, and he has no fucking clue what any of it says.
Yeah.
And it's just like he eventually like creates an illuminated manuscript of like a that we learn as like a schematic for like a jet engine, and he creates an illuminated manuscript out of it, and all this stuff, and it was a really fascinating like perspective on like what future civilizations can interpret from us if they have absolutely no knowledge of what we were like.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And then I highly recommend it. It's like one of my favorite sci-fi novels.
In fairness, though, that's not likely to happen. Because even if we had a nuclear apocalypse, like shit, there's been so much just stuff been written and translated into so many different media in like the past 100 or so years that it's like a several orders of magnitude more than has ever been created before, and there exists so many copies of so many things that it's extremely unlikely that we would lose pretty much anything, even in like an apocalyptic scenario. Like even if we had a solar flare that were to destroy every single hard drive, which that wouldn't even happen. Even if there was a massive solar flare, it wouldn't destroy every data device. There's vaults specifically designed to withstand that kind of shit that contain a lot of data. It wouldn't do shit to books. And there's so many fucking books.
Yep, that is true. I found the Seed Stone. Steed Stone. Yeah. What the fuck does a Steed Stone do?
What is it? Can you send me a screenshot of it? I can probably tell you.
Hang on, let me save the game and exit. Fucking hate the fact that I have to exit out of this fucking game so fucking screenshots are also
in
fucking
Rome,
crash.
they have metro stations that are basically archaeological museums.
Dig sites, yeah.
They're not dig sites anymore. Now they're museums.
Imagine if by doing a dig site in Rome, you found like a Roman subway. A literal room in Subway. The irony. Which,
like,
by the way,
okay.
I cannot fucking claim that joke. That joke was from Fox. But yeah.
Yeah, Fox needs to get on that $20 Patreon tier, and she
Bitch,
can be on stream.
bitch, spend your money. But yeah, this.
Oh, what the fuck? What is this?
I have no clue.
I don't remember seeing this in Oblivion ever.
It's so going down the road from wherever you fucking call it, the place I just talked about, Shadenall, going towards the capital.
What?
Yeah, just follow the road.
What does it do?
I don't know. I just found it. I'm like, aw, she says she's shy.
I mean, I probably just forgot about it, but I would love to just encounter something else in this game that I've played for quite a while back in the way back when.
Isn't it the same as like the standing stones in Skyrim?
Maybe.
No, but hang on. The standing stones in Skyrim, they would give you the different birth sign things. But the birth sign in Oblivion, you choose it at character creation.
Yeah. Here I can check. So hang on. If I... Hopefully the audio has saved this time. I swear to God, audio, if you haven't fucking saved, I'm gonna be fucking mad. Yep. I'm just left. Yeah. So hang on. Let me try and see what happens if I touch it. What happens if I touch the giant stone in the middle of like a charred area? Like literally, there's nothing but like charred ruins. No star shines upon the Doomstone.
The
Doomstone.
Doomstone.
Yeah.
There were, I remember Doomstones in. The concept of Doomstone is somewhere in my mind.
Yeah, hang on. There's also another rune nearby, and I'm surrounded by crabs. Fucking crabs, LMAO.
Did you all see the Alpha Booster video about World of Darkness?
The new one? No.
No, not there's no. I mean the original one where they introduced you to World of Darkness.
Where the fuck am I?
There is mention of a crab splat book in World of Darkness.
The fuck is a crab splat book?
Okay, let me fucking post this. It's not a crab splat book, but
Where
it does feature crabs.
Is this? And I found the rune, and I'm curious because it's not marked it on my map at all. Very curious.
This one. I have found quite a bit of material
Stone
in
door
this book
to
that's relevant to my
Nagastani.
new video that I'm working on. Because it's basically it's not about just one specific game line. It has content for several game lines. Posh, you're hot micing again.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Game line, you mean like vampire?
Yeah,
demon.
exactly.
Yeah,
In here you have vampire traits. You have ghost like wraith abilities. You have a lot of stuff for changelings. And if you look at the cover, those are like Cthulhu illiths. You're still hot micing, by the way, Porsche. It's worse than before.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah. So
right.
That's actually
any better.
I thought it was like a joke, and now it's good. Thank you. I thought it was like a joke, but this is a pretty good source book I have found. It's pretty decent, even though it's like very old. So all this shit in there, it's hot micing again, Posh. I don't know what happened. Like, did you change something about the?
I changed the audio to make sure like the voices and music is down.
Yeah, but then you didn't change it again after, so I don't understand why that would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good source book actually. The crab one. And I discovered this
Hey, I just
entirely
want
by
to
accident because I saw some references on the wiki that okay, you need to get into this, and then I did. And it's not. It's good. It's a good source book.
That's kind of. It's like a mixed base, but also really annoying thing
Yeah.
when you get
Oh,
introduced
wow.
something through a source that should be ironic.
The source itself is not in any way ironic. It's completely. This came out in 1999, so back then they hadn't invented irony yet.
No, I meant Alpha Busa.
Yeah. Well, shit, is it meant to be ironic? I felt like that video was very genuine. It was very heartfelt. It was very like, this World of Darkness is nice and we like it. Love it, even, perhaps.
Hey, I just want to mention before my signal goes out again, I'm gonna have to drop out here soon. I did look up a canticle for Leibowitz to see exactly what happened. After the flame deluge, which is what the nuclear war was, there was a massive, violent backlash against the culture of advanced knowledge and technology that led developments to nuclear weapons. It was called the simplification, where anyone of learning and even anyone who could read was murdered, and any
Posh, you're hot
form
micing
of
more than ever before.
Oh my fucking god! I don't know
I don't
what
know
to
what's
fucking
happening either.
do.
It's really weird. Sorry,
Yeah.
keep it's not that annoying, actually.
Yeah, but yeah, basically after the nuclear the war didn't destroy everything. It was the backlash, the simplification
Yeah.
that destroyed nearly all
See,
knowledge.
this is the problem. This is like anti-natalism. You can do that, but the people who don't do that will just ultimately defeat you because they have access to the technology. So it's definitely
Well,
they clearly, the guy saw the problem with the premise and was like, I need to justify this somehow.
yeah, well, and eventually, because it's a book that's in 3 acts that span over 1,000 years. Oh, actually, spans over 2,000 years, where eventually humanity returns to an advanced civilization again.
Yeah.
You know, it took a couple thousand years just to restart everything.
It happens.
But yeah,
Right there.
yeah, like I said again, this is one of my favorite sci-fi novels, just because it takes an interesting an interesting point of view of like from a religious aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how ultimately the Catholic Church, or the new Catholic Church, is the one that is able to it's a lot like what happened with Rome, where because the monasteries and the abbeys are where the knowledge that survives is ultimately protected.
Let me see.
Ireland. Yeah.
You know what that reminds me of, actually? The Book of Eli.
How so?
That movie is so fucking weird. I love the aesthetic of it, but to me, so the very first thing that I saw in this film, like, this is in the very first scene when Eli shows up. I'm like, oh, this guy's blind. And then you notice the film trying to build up to a big reveal. And then the reveal is that the guy is blind. It's like that. I
Yeah.
knew this. What the fuck?
It sounds like they're trying to make it your problem.
It's a cool film when you forget that, like, fucking Denzel is just a hardcore religious conservative.
So
Really?
that is basically the plot of the movie. the movie is that he's just really into the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
There's actually another book. It's kind of a sci-fi book, but not really. It centers around it's been like 15 years since I read it. Actually, to go back and reread it. It's about a guy known as Julian Comstock and how he becomes president. Julian Comstock, that's his name. And how he becomes the president of the United States, but it's set in the year like 2300, where after major and this is how society across the world collapses due to climate change and resource scarcity, and society doesn't devolve all the way back to like caveman. Basically, what happens is that the far right, like traditional conservatives, manage to survive and I guess win over, and so there's because of this, there's a massive scaling back in progress and technology and stuff to like a 19th century level, but it's heavily influenced by religion.
Yeah.
And like there's things like the United States becomes, a hyper conservative, like traditionalist state, and they end up taking over Canada. Because Julian Comstock is actually from Alberta, Canada, and he eventually becomes the U.S. president. And it's a book about his life, and he eventually gets drafted into the U.S. Army, and he has to march across Canada to Labrador because Mittel Europa is trying to invade Labrador to access the coal mines in Labrador, and it's a really weird book because it's like there's aspects that, like slavery is like, it's not called slavery, it's called like indentured servitude exists. There's a massive fear of like non-Christian people. They have steam trains are back.
Actually, that rules though. I love fucking.
Yeah. It's and the thing is like there wasn't there's tons of books and stuff around that are considered forbidden, but they don't actively destroy any of it. It's just like, oh, that's forbidden. If you read that or you try to interact with that, you'll be punished, or you'll be damned to hell. And because Julian has he has a book that's a very forbidden book that he reads from, and it's a book about space. It was a book that was written in the 2000s, talking about how we landed on the moon and we have satellites and all this great stuff, and he shows it to people, and people are like, you don't believe it? People are like, that didn't happen.
Me when
That's
the moon
bullshit.
landing for real.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it's been like so long since I gotta go back and reread it because it was just so depressing, but also so fascinating. Just to see the society just function.
Yeah.
Like eventually he ends up in New York City, and New York still has all its skyscrapers and stuff, but what they ended up doing was, because they don't have, New York City doesn't have power for the whole day, it only has electrical power for a couple hours at night, and because they can't use elevators all the time, all the buildings, even all the skyscrapers, are like limited to like 20 stories. And what they actually have done is that they'll climb up. They have people climbing up to the top stories and like disassembling the buildings down to reuse that material in like other projects.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you have New York City, and you have like tons of like 20-story buildings where it just like it looks like somebody just sliced them all off. And it's just it's a really fascinating book. Fuck, I have the audiobook. I should go listen to it tonight.
Hell
So yeah, now I'll get the name of the book as well, and I'll post it up later.
Let's just Google Julian Comstock.
Oh, I'm sure you can find it. Yeah, it's like the accounts.
The book is called Julian Comstock.
Oh, okay. All right.
Julian Comstock's Story of the 22nd Century America is a steampunk science fiction novel by Robert Charles Wilson.
A President Comstock sounds like a South Park bit.
He's like a Muppet.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually I actually thought it was kind of funny because eventually I played BioShock Infinite, and I remembered like the leader of Columbia was a guy named Comstock.
Yes, that is why I know this name. That's probably a reference to this. I like the name rings a bell, but I've never read this book.
Yeah, and it's like it's a similar society. Well, not technology-wise, but like the society, it's like ultra conservative, highly religious, kind of a backward society as well.
You fucking read a very impressive amount of books, honestly. I've been trying to read, but I've been actually feeling very guilty that I haven't read fiction for like almost 2 months now. But then I realized I just read a shit ton of non-fiction, aka game rule books. I also I got a friend. I finally found someone in the wild who is interested in speculative biology the way that I am. I love speculative biology.
It's very cool.
This is a person that I met at role playing. She had a. Actually, we were like sort of acquaintances before we even knew that we had this shared passion, and basically, I was invited to a party at her place, and my boyfriend basically implied, and he said he didn't, but he kind of did, that it was a birthday party because it was a half a year after her birthday, so I got her a birthday present, like a book about speculative, all tomorrows. No, it was all yesterdays that I got her. And she had a book for me. This is not a gift. She didn't gift it to me. The Zoologist's Guide to the Galaxy. And that one really I'm looking forward to reading next when I don't have to do a video on this. But it's really fucking fascinating. It's an actual scientific volume on like speculative evolution, how creatures could evolve in the future, and an aspect in on other planets, and an aspect that I've always found very fascinating about this is if you look at it in the future of Earth, how animals could fit sort of technological niches if you assume a certain permanence of technology. I have a setting that I call a post-scarcity, post-apocalypse, where there's essentially machines that will basically operate for forever on earthly timescales for like millions of years. So you'll have animals that will adapt to the existence of those machines. Like, you know how you see a lot of birds, especially like ravens and crows, they will throw trash away. They have trained them to basically throw trash into trash cans, and they give the bird feed for it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of complex such systems where this might happen on purpose or it might be misappropriated. Like there's a lot of environments like the sewers, right? That's a whole environment that where animals live there.
Yeah.
But it's not a very diverse environment. It's mostly rats. The city itself is very good for it's good for spiders and rats and certain birds. Farmlands is something that hasn't existed really historically that much. Well, in like historically, yes, but like in large time frames, and nature has adapted to it somewhat, but it's like a huge environmental shift. So the wilder shit goes like what lives on a space elevator. You know what I mean?
Mm.
What will the biosphere of a if you had a not necessarily even a space station, but one of them, like if we had an orbital ring, what might the biosphere of something that evolves over a long period of time look like? Especially if they have sort of access, if there's a certain genetic meddling involved as well by humans, be it for a specific purpose or just some kid who's like, I'm gonna make a dog with wings that doesn't need to breathe with this genetic toolkit that I have that I got gifted for seculamus, because in the future there is no Jesus.
LMAO.
That's something I find very fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so MDEF is probably going to pop up at some point because of the signal.
Signal.
Where in the great big US of A are you trucking right now, man?
He might have already popped off.
Yeah, he might. He's still like in Discord, but he might have already.
Probably.
Discord might be like, oh. I mean, I hope he's not
How-
texting and driving.
How useful are horses in Oblivion, by the way? Because like I am
fast.
just being so fucking distracted at the moment, just walking around. I'm just like, bro, there's so many places to visit and so little inventory space.
I've never bought a horse in any Elder Scrolls game.
Just like
You've
I
never
went,
bought a horse?
No,
I
never
went
did.
to
Did you
Chidnall
steal them?
and
No, I never used one.
I went to Chidnall and they told me like a brown, I think they called it, was 5,000 fucking gold. I was like, yeah, sure, it's something I have in cash on me right now. Yes.
It's because horses are always kind of a late. I mean, at least they were in Oblivion. They were kind of a late game thing. I think they were in Skyrim as well.
They were kind of. It was like 1,000 for a horse, I think.
But that's kind of. I wasn't very good with making money in Oblivion. So to me, I was already used to walking everywhere at that point. Then I was
Yeah.
like, I am 15 years old and I'm not going to buy a horse. And then I basically stuck with that.
What the fuck? Is that an imp? Is that a fucking flying imp?
He doesn't know
certainly.
about the
Yes,
flying
that is an imp. Good lord. And he's dead.
Hell
Imp
yeah.
goal.
Shout out to him being fucking dead.
Oh shit, there's a second one.
Killed
And
by
this time he's
defense as well.
firing ice.
He's firing ice, is he?
He's shooting ice. I'm sorry. And he wants to melee me.
I'm pretty sure the word shooting comes from some fire thing as well. So
Yeah. Can you throw potions? Because that would be very useful. I've got a lot
I
of...
don't think you can. You can coat your weapon in poison.
How do you do that?
You just apply. You use the poison. I think that's the.
Do I just click on it? In my
believe
inventory?
So, yes, it'll do that to the weapon that's currently equipped, if I recall correctly.
Okay, so maybe don't try that right now.
In my personal opinion, I think having spells come out of your third hand was quite neat in Oblivion.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I didn't like having to press. C feels kind of like hard to press. At least it did back then when I was 15. Um,
So I
and not
found a
very good
new
at gaming.
dungeon.
I did like the way Skyrim did it with the two hands thing. But it would have been cool to play a character that can use two-handed weapons and also spells without having to constantly like flick back and forth between shit.
I found there's a lot of old forts around the Empire. I'm curious as to why.
They needed dungeons.
Lord Pearl. Ooh.
You have to
Give me the
you have to within the terms of the law. The space that you see in the games does not really does not map accurately to the Elder Scrolls, like to the
Yeah, I can
lore.
imagine.
It's much bigger in the lore, and you're just seeing the highlights.
Yeah.
And that level of like, especially in I mean, that's sort of the concentration of ruins that you'd
Oh,
have in Central Europe as well if you zoom it out a little bit.
and
Um,
I found the scroll, but I can't reach it. Son of a bitch, give me the scroll.
An Elder Scroll?
Absorbs.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately not. I'd never be
younger
that lucky.
scroll.
Absorb skill blade.
That's such a fucking. I love these extremely specific effects.
Mm.
Like I'm
So
never
hang
gonna
on.
use this kind of shit. In a
Wait.
game.
So one of these has got to be like I've got lesser power fix follower double face bug. Which is definitely from the bug fix. I've got Star of the West,
I have
absorb fatigue,
features
100
in my
points on
back.
touch. I've got Voice of the Emperor, charm 30 points for 30
You're
seconds on
playing an
target.
Imperial?
Yeah.
God, you should have played a Breton, you fucking French fuck.
Hey, bro,
Yeah,
look,
the
it's
French
my
they
first time
get
playing.
resistance to magic damage. They're fucking tough. I love Bretons.
Yeah, I completely fucked over my class, to be honest. I am an Imperial birth sign the mage, class battle mage.
Well, your class isn't that important. It just determines your starting skills. Your like depending on your play style,
Yeah.
you will eventually get the skills that you use the most.
Yeah. Willpower 30. Personality 50, strength 47, intelligence 45, agility 30, speed 40, endurance 44, and luck 51.
This was in Oblivion. You could jump higher if you had a higher acrobatics skill, right?
Yeah, my acrobatic skill isn't great actually.
I remember this.
That is my acrobatics is actually athletics, I think. Or no.
No, they're separate.
Jump long distance, yeah, 16. I'm still a novice, and then athletics is 18.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. But like the other spells I have are Cold Touch, Flare, Heal Minor Wounds, Minor Dispel, Minor Life Detection, Open Very Easy Lock, Protect, Shocking Touch, Summon Skeleton, and Turn Undead.
Opening locks with spells is also quite a based thing to do.
Yeah.
I also have Fortify Magicka. I don't know what the fuck that does. I do not understand what it does.
Spell that does Fortify Magicka?
Yeah. Mage Birth Sign.
Oh, that's not a spell, that's a status effect. It gives you more mana because you have the mage as your birth sign.
Right, I see. Just gonna be exploring these ruins for a tiny bit. God, like, just the fact that they scatter the ruins a bit just makes it kind of worthwhile to explore. It does feel a bit wondrous.
That's what like Bethesda games are all about, exploring shit. That's why you play them.
Hell yeah.
One of the things that I really liked about the Elder Scrolls is that there's like a through line from. There aren't really events that only take place in one game.
Yeah.
So, like, the events of Morrowind, the volcano erupting is the reason why in Skyrim Winterfell is half of Winterfell fell in the ocean.
Yeah.
Really?
And even though like Skyrim doesn't take and the Oblivion Crisis in Oblivion is the reason the Thalmor rose to prominence in with the Altmer.
Right.
And so it's like even though you're only seeing one part of the world, there's still,
It's still
like the
being
rest of the
affected.
world is still fleshed out, and the rest of the world is still moving.
You can see in the Skyrim DLC that takes you to Solstheim, you can see the devastation that the volcano has wrought. It's
Yes.
wild.
Oh, I found another. I forgot what these are called, but it's like a little shrine with light pouring out. Aelid Well.
Oh.
Aelids are bastards. We hate them.
Yeah.
Desecrate anything they own.
Yeah, fuck them. They
So do I just use it?
Shouts out to friend of the show, Pelinal Whitestrake.
I have
stand.
Fucking
no fucking context to
based
this.
elf hater.
Oh, is that the one who had his lover die? Is that the one you showed me the video
that is
for?
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
He's the gay Terminator.
Yeah, the gay Terminator.
With a bull that transforms
Potentially
into a man.
time-traveling cyborg as well. Who knows?
I
Alright,
draw power from the well.
it's been real.
You'll be happy
I'm gonna end the stream.